Hey everyone, it's Steph. Welcome to my channel. For those of you who've never been here before, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 reasons why I love audiobooks. And there are many different reasons why people might pick up an audiobook. They might be on the go, or they might not have a lot of time to sit down and read physical books. They might also just want to try something new. So if you are in any of those categories or not, welcome, because we're going to be talking about reasons why audiobooks are amazing. On to the 5 reasons why I love audiobooks. Starting with number 1, you can read them while you're on the go. I think I started listening to audiobooks around 2013, and I quickly realized that I could listen to these books literally anywhere. I often do not listen with headphones just because that's fine with my home environment, but that might be different for you. You might want a set of headphones with you in order to be more immersed into your book reading experience. I love being able to read while I'm folding laundry, emptying the dishwasher, while I'm dusting, not while I'm vacuuming, because that's difficult. It doesn't have to be glamorous, but you can kind of have this going just to kind of keep you company as you're doing stuff around the house, doing chores, whatever. It helps chores go faster. You kind of don't notice your chores as much, and it just helps things get done, and you're part of this book world. I don't always feel in the mood to sit, be stationary, and open a physical book. I still want to read. I still want to be a part of a story or learn something new. I want to keep going and moving around and taking care of stuff. I've also listened to audiobooks while gardening. The second reason that I love audiobooks, you can listen to books that you might otherwise stop reading. You might otherwise just have difficulty getting through because of the content or because it's a genre you don't typically read. I often find that reading nonfiction books comes much easier to me if I'm reading an audiobook format. If it's like a celebrity or something, they might even be reading their own life story, and then it feels like you're totally immersed into this person's life. Audiobooks help me to get through more nonfiction books and more books that are typically deemed classics. If I'm reading a physical book and it just feels like I'm dragging or having to go back and reread in order to increase my comprehension, it's going to slow me down and it's going to keep me from wanting to continue that book. If I have the audiobook, it keeps going and I get the general gist. And if I don't really understand a specific thing that I listen to with an audiobook, I kind of wait and let it keep going and see if I can put the pieces together. If that still doesn't happen, I look it up online and try to see what kind of, like a little summary, like on a Cliff Notes or a Spark Notes kind of thing, in order to enhance my comprehension of the material I listen to. So it's not as if you miss something with an audiobook, you're totally lost forever. There's so much available online to kind of balance that out and help support you as you're listening to your audiobook. Some people also like to listen to the book as they physically hold a copy of it. I'm not one of those people, but I'm not bashing anybody who thinks that's a good idea. It just gives you more options, right? What's wrong with that? Okay, number 3. Narrators for audiobooks are so varied. You can have one narrator, you can have a group of narrators. It really depends on the book itself. These narrators, singular, plural, can immerse you into the story in a way you might not otherwise experience with a physical book. For example, if the character has an accent, some kind of quirk to their inflection or the way that they speak, you can totally kind of hear that in a way that you might not otherwise when you're reading a physical copy of a book. For example, when I borrowed the Rosie Project from the library and I stuck the first CD in my car many years ago, I was shocked. Here I had what sounded like Hugh Jackman speaking to me because the story takes place in Australia. So that just totally blew my mind. And I guess I had read the synopsis beforehand, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together that it's set in Australia. The characters are all going to have an Australian accent. So I probably would have read that book and just kind of thought in my mind as I read that dialogue of an American accent. Not the end of the world, doesn't mean you can't enjoy the story, but it certainly made it a more immersive experience to hear this narrator speak with an Australian accent, and it made it fun for me as an American listener to kind of make me feel more transported to the setting of the story. Another example of this is when I listened to Murder on the Orient Express. When I started listening to this, I was like, oh my gosh, that voice sounds so familiar. It's Dan Stevens. I was like, it's Matthew from Downton Abbey. And then of course he's the Beast. He's in so many different things. But it just made the story automatically off the bat exciting, and it grabbed my attention because this was a voice that I knew, and there are so many celebrities who read stories, whether it be celebrity bios or fictional stories. There are tons of them. Look them up online if you're interested, maybe in 1 or 2 particular celebrities, see what they've read. I know Dan Stevens has read a few other Agatha Christie's, so definitely check that out if you're interested. Just off the bat, I was automatically more interested in the story because I knew the voice of the person who was reading it. So that was a really cool thing, and definitely something to check out if you're interested. Number 4, if you have stories that have difficult pronunciations, perhaps take place in a different part of the world than you're familiar with, if you have differences in cultures, theology, history than something you're not familiar with, it might be easier to pick up an audiobook to help you kind of learn about the culture and pronouncing these words effectively. I ended up reading most of the Percy Jackson series on audiobook. And I didn't think about it until the narrators started pronouncing all these Greek and Roman mythological words that probably would have stumbled over a lot more of those names had I read it on the paper. But because I had someone reading it to me, it just automatically was like, yeah, okay, bizarre name, cool, okay, and we just keep going with the story. It just feels like it's one less thing for you to stumble over as you're reading. Reason number 5. I love audiobooks because I can read faster, I can speed up the audiobook if I feel like there's a lot of space between words or sentences. This happens sometimes. So I'll just speed it up a little bit so it doesn't feel like there are those gaps between words, and then it feels like the story keeps going and going, and it's great. I can also read more books this way. So if I'm reading a physical copy of the book, that's great. When I sit down and read, awesome, I'm immersed in that story. If I'm good in the car, stuff where I'm not sitting, I can listen to an audiobook. This just helps me get through so many more. Speed up the audio, hear these different narrators with different accents, and pronounce words that might be bizarre, keep the story moving so I get the gist of what the overall plot is. It just opens the world up to me as far as making more books accessible to me and interesting and exciting to listen to and be a part of. I feel like, generally speaking, most people kind of recognize the value of audiobooks today with the popularity of things like Audible or different other sites. I'm just all for saving money wherever I can because you got bills to pay. So if I can get free books, then I'm going to do so, hence the library. I feel like most people are pretty chill about the controversy about, are you really reading if you're listening to the story? My thought process, not to bash anybody else. We can all have our differing opinions and still be friends, but you're still immersed in the story. It's still increasing your language and your awareness of the world, your understanding of sentence structure, still building your literacy and your comprehension. So I'm all about it. Definitely check out some audiobooks if you're interested, and let me know in the comments if you like talking about audiobooks, and I will see you guys next time. I hope you find a book or audiobook that brings some sunshine to your day, just brightens your day, and I will chat with you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.